Hi, my name is Justin Ornduff. I'm the founder and president of DVS Baseball. And what is DVS Baseball? Well, it starts with our mission, which is to simply make pitchers better. We want to see them stay healthy, perform better, and achieve success at the highest level. So where did DVS Baseball get started? It started with my personal playing career. See, out of high school, I went to George Washington University, and at GW, I earned freshman All-American honors. And after GW, I transferred to Virginia Commonwealth University, and again in my sophomore year, I earned All-American honors. And the success of the first 2 years got me an invite to Team USA tryouts in the summer of 2003, and I was fortunate enough to make the 2003 USA national team. And by and large, the success that I had on that team helped propel me in 2004 to get drafted in the first round by the Los Angeles Dodgers. Fast forward just 2 short years later, I'm in Montgomery, Alabama in 2006, and I'm pitching against the Montgomery Biscuits, and I was pitching for the Jacksonville Suns as part of the AA affiliate of the Dodgers. And the next morning after that game, I woke up, and for the first time in my career, I knew that something was seriously wrong because I couldn't lift my arm up. And so 6 weeks, I tried to rehab and tried to get back out into the field, but the pain was still in my arm, and I knew that it was time for the surgery to be had. So the moment that I woke up from surgery is kind of by and large what I tell everybody was really the moment that the concept of DVS originally started. It was because when I woke up, the surgeon said, you know, Justin, I don't know what to tell you, but I don't know if you've got 6,606 innings left, but I do know that the way that you threw the baseball led to this type of injury. See, I lost 80% of my bicep tendon. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of research or information that would suggest if I was going to make a full recovery. And so as I started my rehabilitation program, honestly, I felt just fine. But as time wore on, I slowly started to realize that the demands of a professional baseball pitcher just were too much for the function of my shoulder. See, between 2007 and 2009, my performance just slowly dipped, and as did the function of my shoulder. So I started to battle ongoing pain, fatigue, and my recovery just wasn't what it used to be prior to surgery. So with a lot of loss in performance, a lot of failure, I decided in May 2009 to retire. And when I retired, I returned back to Virginia Commonwealth University to earn my business degree. And it was during that time that I started to ask the questions, well, why did I get hurt and other pitchers didn't? And so what I started to do on a really baseline level is I started to look back throughout history of the game, and I just wanted to see the pitchers that were able to accumulate a lot of innings, what did they have in common? And at that time, I really didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but within about a year, I started to kind of slowly see some commonalities of the pitchers who were able to really accumulate a large number of innings throughout the history of the game, and the pitchers that often got frequently hurt. So I started to see some patterns, and those patterns then prompted me to say, you know what, I got to figure this out. And over the next 5 years, that's what I spent my time doing. So that's where we refer to that delivery value system, and that's where DVS comes from. So the delivery value system is a biomechanical model that utilizes markerless motion capture of multiple angles of video of a baseball pitcher. See, every time a pitcher throws a baseball, a sequence of movements begin in this kinetic chain. And my goal was to objectively measure and quantify those movements to remove any subjectivity or bias. And so what I eventually came up with were 6 mechanical components that we could objectively measure and turn into a score. So we had 6 components, and of those 6 components, we can add those up, which will then lead to an overall score, which we refer to as a DVS score. So our scale at that time goes 0 to 24, and it remains the same today, with 24 being the least amount of risk that a pitcher could be under at any given point in time. Obviously, a 0 would be the opposite. So that was our initial hypothesis, is if we scored these pitchers and gave them a DVS score, what would happen? So that led us to basically formally test and build a statistical model that could determine if the delivery value system had true validity or true power to determine risk in one pitcher, between two pitchers, or groups of pitchers. Well, it turns out that our initial formal study of over 500 current and former players at the time turned out to have true significant power. And that formal study can now be viewed in a medically published journal called Orthopedics, and that was as of January 2018. So our research today, to which we term our injury risk model, continues to live on, and most recently we have given DVS scores to every single major league pitcher that pitched in both 2018 and 2019. And what we've seen is that the delivery value system, the scoring system, still has significant power, but a pitcher that, let's say, was a DVS score of 13 10 years ago compared to a pitcher that is a DVS score of 13 now, just 10 years of difference there in terms of their birth year. The pitcher that's a DVS score of 13 is getting hurt significantly faster. And that holds true for each score that we give to a pitcher. And why is that? Well, it also goes back to the mission of DVS, is to making pitchers better, but also kind of fighting this culture or making pitchers in the culture more aware of what goes into true development. See, injury risk and getting injuries is just one part of this equation. So that's what led us to say, okay, if we tell you you're getting hurt by giving you a low DVS score, great, but how do you fix it? We could have the best looking analysis and biomechanical report in the world. But if I don't know what to do with that report, and I don't know how to get better, I don't know how to eliminate that injury risk and have long-term success on the baseball field, it's kind of all for nothing. So that's why in 2016, we traveled up to the United Shore Professional Baseball League in Utica, Michigan, and our hypothesis and our goal was very simple. What happens when we improve the DVS score of a baseball pitcher? So as we started that season, we did two things. We took the shoulder range of motion of those baseball pitchers every single day. It was a monumental task, but we had to really get to the root of, if we started to make these mechanical sequence adjustments to the baseball pitcher, what could we start to see in the shoulder joint in terms of the function, in terms of the mobility on a day-to-day basis? So what we started to observe is that pitchers who slowly started to adopt what's now referred to as our MVP program, which is the improvement methodology to improve the DVS score, we slowly started to see improvements in recovery, shoulder mobility. Pitchers walked around, they felt better. So when you feel better, hey, when I go out in my throwing program, I can execute a little bit better. So the confidence increased. And then we started to see in the games, execution of pitches started to increase. So we know we can improve the health and then the recovery and the function, but one byproduct of all this was, because the sequencing was better, we started to see pitchers improve their average fastball velocity. So those results of 2016 then continued to carry into 2017 at the USPBL, and they continue there today. So our goal was to have enough data on a practical application that we felt very confident going to Major League Baseball, youth baseball, and saying, okay, we can give you a DVS score, and if we tell you we're going to improve your DVS score, here's the results that can come with improving your DVS score. So our passion as we move forward is really build this awareness throughout every stage of baseball, but to give true solutions to help players of all ages and ability levels. And one of our biggest passions is our youth population, because we know that in the culture now, things are starting earlier and earlier and earlier. So that's why we encourage pitchers, and if you're going to get serious about pitching, get your DVS score and start understanding what's going to go into the long-term success of your baseball career. So this is kind of a nutshell of what really DVS Baseball is all about. Thanks for tuning in. We hope that you get involved with DVS Baseball, and we look forward to potentially working with you. My name is Justin Orndorff, and thank you.